Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. Now, everyone, please. Okay, good morning. Now, please keep your audios closed so we can start the class.
Ma'am, where is Sana ma'am today?
Today, Sana ma'am is not there, so today I am going to take the class, and you have to pin your screens to KitKat Lab. So, KitKat Lab is going to start the presentation. You have to pin your screens to KitKat Lab.
Done, ma'am.
So, did you all enjoy the refraction experiments yesterday at home?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How much ever you all wish to, please don't speak in between because then there is a lot of echo. Okay. So wait. So there are a lot of phenomenons in the world that happens because of refraction, and we didn't know. For example, one of the example we saw was a mirage. People in the olden times used to think that the mirage is probably uh, a magic, but actually then they came to know that it is because of the uh, refraction of light. Similar way, there is something that is we know sunrise and sunset takes place, but the sunrise and the sunset that we see are not the actual ones. Why is it so? Because see, the sun is traveling a lot of distance. So the sun is going to travel from the place where it is into the vacuum, then it will enter into the Earth's atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere in the beginning is very, very thin. So again, the density is less. As it keeps on coming inside and inside into the layers of the Earth, the density of the atmosphere keeps on increasing. So there is going to be refraction of the sun's light, means the sunrise and the sunset is going to get refracted, right? So the sunrise that we see is 2 minutes later than it happens, and the sunset we see 2 minutes. Uh, Sorry, the sunrise we see 2 minutes before, and the sunset we see 2 minutes later. Means if supposing the sunrise has happened at 6 o'clock, we are seeing the sunrise at 5 o'clock and 58 minutes. And if the sunset is taking place at 6 o'clock, then we are seeing it at 6 o'clock and 02 minutes. So this is because of the horizon of the earth and because of refraction. So see, there is an image. The real, we discussed yesterday the real and the apparent positions of the sun. So the real position of the sun should be at 6 o'clock, but the sunrise we are seeing 2 minutes earlier, and the sunset we are seeing 2 minutes later. There is one more phenomenon that happens because of the refraction, and that is going to be twinkling of stars. So we have discussed that stars emit light, uh, and that light that is coming from the stars is again, like I discussed, is passing through a lot of atmospheric layers. So see, if you can see in the pictures, there are different atmospheric layers. Atmospheric layer 1, 2, 3 before it enters into the earth. So same way, the light of the star is also changing its path. We discussed that refraction is going to bend the light. So every time it enters into every atmosphere, the light is bending. So imagine it is coming straight, now it is going left, right, left, right, left, right. So in that, what is happening? The position of the light is changing. So we feel that the stars are twinkling, the stars are shining, but actually the stars don't twinkle, they just emit the light, and we see that there is twinkling of stars. So likewise, there are a lot of phenomenon of refraction. Now for today's topic, we are going to study the main and important part of refraction that is present in our own self, that is the lenses. So the topic for today is going to be lens. So like we discussed that how there are concave mirrors and convex lenses. Convex mirrors. So we discussed about mirrors. Mirrors are something that reflects light. Means whenever light goes onto the mirror, it comes back, right? But when there is a lens, so now we'll start with the lens. One second. We'll start the presentation today's.
Farida, is my screen visible?
No.
Okay, one sec. Just one
Now
single
for us it's
second.
all.
One second. Now it will be. Okay, now is it?
Not still.
I think it should be. Um, can anyone else see my screen?
Ma'am, I can see.
Ma'am, even I can see you.
Ma'am, I
I can
can
see it.
see.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. Okay. Okay. Okay, enough. Everyone, shoo. Okay. Okay. So we are starting with the topic that is we are starting with lenses today. Okay. Now we have seen a lot of places lenses. The best example is the magnifying lens that we see. Okay, the magnifying lens means what happens is if we take the lens near to some object that is small, we see things very big. There are some other places where we see lenses, and that is going to be in the microscope, or we also see lenses in the telescopes, all the optical instruments, the cameras, we say the lens, or
Ma'am,
even,
spectacles.
sorry,
Ma'am, ma'am, specs.
specs. Yes, very good, specs. So a lot of places we are seeing lenses. Now, what is the difference between lens and mirror is what is the point. So if
Ma'am,
you see, if you see, the lens is such an object which is transparent on both the sides, right? So it is a transparent device which has curved surfaces on both the sides. But in mirror, we had one side which was polished and one side which had the mirror where you could see the image. So this is different. So a mirror and a lens, they both work in different principles. The mirror works on the principle of reflection. Reflection is when the light is going to it, it is hitting back like a ball. It is bouncing up like a ball. In the lenses, the principle that is used is refraction, what we studied yesterday. Because of the difference in the medium, that is air and glass, the light that enters into the lens, it is going to get refracted, means the light is going to bend. Now we have different types of lenses. We have some lenses which are called as converging lens, and some lenses that are called as diverging lens. Now here, how do the lenses work? Like I discussed, it works only on refraction. The light is going to bend. The light is bending. So if you see on the left side, the light from the flower is falling onto the lens. From the lens, it is falling into the eye, and then we are able to see it. And because of the type of lens, we are seeing a very big image. So we are seeing a image, and that is a virtual image. Again, a revision for you all. What is a virtual image? A virtual image is which you cannot get on the screen, which you cannot get on the walls. And a real image is something that you can get on the wall. On the right side, there is an objective, there's an eyepiece. This is an example of a microscope. So in this, the object to be seen in the microscope is placed, and then we are able to see it with our eyes into a very big image. So here the lenses are working by they are bending. They are bending. Okay. The lenses work on the principle of refraction. So the main difference between mirrors and lenses is mirrors work on reflection and lenses work on refraction. I just hope that this point is very clear with you all. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, like mirrors, there were two types of mirrors.
Ma'am, lenses work on reflection, right?
Now, mirrors, there were two types of mirrors, concave mirrors and convex mirrors. Concave is when the side was bent inside, like a cave, concave, and convex is when it was bulging outside. Similar way, we have got two types of lenses, convex lens and concave lens. So on the left side, there is a there is a convex lens. It is bulging outside on both the sides. So it is a convex lens. And the concave lens is bulging inside on both the sides. So it is a concave lens. A convex lens is also called as a positive lens, and the main feature of the convex lens is it is a converging lens, means all the light that passes into the lens is going to and come to a point, and that point is called as the focus. So it is going to image out our entire light into one point that is called as the focus. Whereas the concave lens is going to diverge the object. So it will diverge the image. Okay, so con a converging lens is a convex lens. A diverging lens is a concave lens. Okay, please keep these 2 points into your mind. Or if you're noting down this in your books, there's nothing more great than this. Okay, Shall. So if we are seeing types of lenses, we have the lens. The above image is of the convex lens. There is one principal axis, okay, and the principal axis is there, and then that principal axis is going to contain the focal point. The focal point is where all the light of the lens is going to come and meet. So it is going to meet afterwards, after the refraction. After the refraction, okay, means light is coming from outside, from the air, it is entering into the glass. From that glass, it is coming and all coming to a point at a focal point. Okay, in opposite to that, we have got the concave lens. In the concave lens, we have the lens, we have the principal axis. Now, like we said, that the light that all is entering into the concave lens is all diverging outside. So it is all going outside. It is going to go out. But if we take it opposite, if we go opposite to it, means if we go behind to it before the refraction, it can appear to meet at a point. I'm saying it can appear to meet. Okay, it is not meeting, it is appearing to meet. And that point is what we call as the focal point of that lens. Each lens will have a focus. Each lens will have a focus. Each mirror will also have a focus point. You cannot have any lens or any mirror without a focal point. So whenever you go to make your eyeglasses, the person of the eyeglasses will always write what is the focal length. So if someone has lenses or someone has glasses or someone's parents has, next time make it a point to see that you see that there is a focal length written on each and every glasses. Okay, like I said, remember this convex lens is a converging lens. After refraction, they all meet at a point, and concave lens is a diverging lens. All the light is going to diverge out. Okay, so these are the two types of lenses. Now just to revise a certain points, one point is the focal point where all the light is coming and meeting. The focal length is what? The length between the focal point and the mid of the lens. The mid of the lens and the focal point is called as the focal length. Okay, so every time there will be a focal length involved in your lens, like I discussed right now. Okay, and you have the principal axis, that is an imaginary line. Like I said, there are many light lines passing through a lens. There are 1001 lines. More than that, we consider one line passing through the center of the lens, passing through the center of the lens, and that line we call it as the principal axis. Okay, okay. Now there are various combinations people do for the lens. Okay, so one type of lens, like I said, convex lens. Convex lens means both the sides are outside. Concave lens, both the sides are inside. Plano lens, we can have a plain lens, no? The people who just wear the normal sunglasses, who don't have any numbers, those are plain lenses. So we can have a plain lens. It is plain, it is flat, it is not curved. We don't have curved surface there. Okay, and a meniscus is the one in which one side is concave and one side is convex. So we can have a combination of it also. So we'll see that in the next slide. Can we go to the one more next slide? Okay, so this type of lens is called as a biconvex, the first one. Both the sides are bulging outside, so biconvex. Okay, one side in the next one is plane and one side is bulging outside, so we call as plano-convex. One side plane, one side out, so plano-convex. Same way, one side is plane, one side is bulging inside, so we call it plano-concave. Now the next one is two sides curving inside, so we've got a concave lens. Okay, now like we discussed, the ones that have both of them, means a concave and a convex, are called as meniscus. So here we have a bulging outside also and a bulging inside also. So this is called as a positive meniscus and the next one is called as a negative meniscus. So depending on different types of use, human being is able to make a lot of lenses and we are making use of those lenses in various instruments. So up till now, any questions related to what is a lens, what is refraction, how the lens is working? Any questions based on that?
Ma'am, I didn't understand that meniscus,
Meniscus?
that meniscus lens, in which there was one side was concave and one side was convex. I did not understand that.
It's very simple. One side is convex and one side is concave. So those type of lenses we call as meniscus. When there is one side plane and one side convex, we call as plano-convex. Same way, if you have got a convex and a concave lens together, we call it as a meniscus. So there are two types. One is positive and one is negative.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, nothing, no questions. So I'll go to the next part. Okay,
Ma'am,
fast. Yes.
ma'am, what is the difference between positive and negative meniscus?
Okay, we'll go back to that slide. Okay, so the positive meniscus, if you see, is more bulging outside. The bulge is more outside towards one end, and towards one end it is less bulging. So that becomes a positive meniscus. And in the other one, you can see the more bulging inside. So it is more towards the concave lens. The left side, the positive one, was more towards the convex lens. So we said na convex lens is positive. So we call that to be a positive meniscus. And the one that is more bulging inside, we call that to be a negative meniscus because it more resembles the concave lens. Clear?
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll go to the next part.
Ma'am, there's still one more child's doubt.
Tell fast.
Ma'am, this is of Arjun's. Ma'am, I did not understand the sunset and sunrise concept.
The sunrise and the sunset concept. Okay, so see, when the sun's light is coming towards us, okay, I said that it is passing. See, the mirage, like what we saw, mirage. What happens in mirage? The mirage, there are two different layers. One is hot layer of air and one is cold layer of air, right? Even that hot and cold layer of air was causing the mirage, correct? In the same way, when the sun's light is coming to us, when the sun's light is passing from where the sun is so many thousands and miles, lakhs of kilometers far away from us, first of all, the sun is passing through the vacuum. Once it passes through the vacuum, after the vacuum, it is coming into the different atmospheric levels. So if you go to see, first there was vacuum, means there are no molecules. Then slowly some molecules keep on coming in, so there the density is less. Now after that, there's another layer where the density is getting more, slightly more, so the number of molecules are increasing out there. Now again, there you're coming more inside. Now the atmospheric level contains the carbon dioxide, the oxygen gas, all those different types of gases. As you come very close near to the Earth's surface, what happens is that we get more of oxygen, less of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, a lot of gases. So what happens is that there are different densities of air layer. So in those different densities, the sun's light is going to refract. We said no, refraction happens in transparent layers. So as the sun's light is coming, it is bending. In each and every layer, it is bending. And because of that bend, if the actual position of the sun in the image, it is below, we see it to be above. So we see the sun rising 2 minutes earlier. So if the sun's actual time was 6 a.m., we are seeing it at 5 o'clock and 58 minutes. The same concept goes for the sunset. So sunset, the actual position must be at 6 o'clock it is supposed to sunset, but because of the refraction, the apparent position of the sun appears for us, it is setting down at 6 o'clock and 2 minutes. Clear? Hello? Who asked the doubt?
Arjun, is your doubt clear? Arjun?
Ma'am, he has unmuted himself.
Hello? Arjun? I guess we can move ahead, Farida.
Okay. So we finished what is lens, and now we're going to the part. We're going to each an individual lens. So now we're coming to the convex lens. Okay. Convex lens is thicker in the middle and it is thinner on the upper ends. So it is bulging outside. This is called as a convex lens. Okay. Like we said, there's a focal point afterwards. So there is an F dash that is written on the right hand side. That is a focal length where all the light has to come and focus. That is called as a focal length. Okay. Now, whenever rays of lights are passing, we take the left side is the object. See, now we'll start. The left side is the object. Okay. Now, from the object, we are considering certain light that is passing through the lens. It is going to refract. After refraction, it is going to come and meet at a point, and after meeting at a point, it is going to form an image. So this image is formed. Now this is a inverted image. See, the arrow is upwards of the object. After the image is forming, the arrow is going downwards. So it is a inverted image. We always discussed, if it is an inverted image, it is always going to be a real image. Okay, so we go to the next slide where we see that if the object is placed at different positions. So if the object is placed at,
Excuse me, ma'am, it's not in the slide.
now can you see the slide? The green table?
No, ma'am.
So you have to pin yourself to KittoCade lab. There are two KittoCades lab. You have to pin yourself to one of them.
Ma'am, now I can see.
Okay, so if the object is placed at infinity, if the object is placed at 2f is when we take f and we take double of f. If we take in between f and 2f, if we take at focus point, at all these points, if I take my object, the image that I'm going to get is, most of the times, if you see, it is written diminished, 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 most of the time. And it is always a real and an inverted image. There's only one case where the image becomes enlarged and it is virtual and it is erect, that is between the focus and between the optical O. So we'll go to the previous slide again. So there is the object. Now if the object is, see, now this, the object is forming a real image. If the object is coming between at f, again it is a real inverted. Now if it is coming at f, again it is a real. Now here, if it is coming between f and o, it is forming a virtual image. Can you see it is forming a virtual image? If the object was placed between the focal length and the zero means the mid of the lens, you get an enlarged image. That is what is happening in your magnifying glass. So your magnifying glasses, you take very, very close to the object. So you are coming in the focal length. If in the focal length, see, again, the object is in the focal length and left side of it only you can see the object. See, left side only you can see the object. So that is where you're seeing a virtual image. So the magnifying lenses, what you are using, that is a virtual image. It is an erect image. You don't see ulta of it. Can you see ulta in the magnifying lens? No. You can see only straight in the magnifying lens. So if you're seeing straight in the magnifying lens, you're seeing erect. It is a virtual image. So at that time, the object is placed very, very close to the focal length. It is within the focal length distance. Okay. And there is one experiment that people normally do with the convex lens, and that is what they do is they take the convex lens and they try to focus the sun's rays. They will try to focus the sun's rays, and the sun's rays will all come and meet at a focal point. And what will happen, whatever object is kept below it, for example, you've kept a paper. If you've kept a paper below it, it will start to burn. That is because it was at its focus point. At the focus point, you're focusing all the sun's rays that are gathering into the convex lens, and so it is able to burn the paper. Okay, so that is uh, one position of the focal length. So convex lens, like we saw in the table, green table, all the positions wherever you keep the object, you will get a real and an inverted image. Only one position you get a virtual and erect image, that is going to be when it is very, very close to the focal length, means it is inside the focal length. Then only you get a virtual image. That is how the convex lenses are working. Okay. Any doubts with the convex lens?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, I didn't understand virtual image.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, I didn't understand virtual image.
You didn't understand what is image. Whatever you see after the light is passing through the lens, and whatever you're seeing, that is called as the image.
Ma'am, I didn't understand virtual image.
Okay, so if you're standing in the mirror, right? What do you see in the mirror?
Ma'am, my reflection.
Your reflection, right? So that is what we call it as image.
Okay, ma'am.
Any doubts for convex lens?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
All right, so now let's move on to concave lens. One second, I think Farida ma'am got disconnected.
Hello?
One.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So concave lens is when the lenses are thinner in the middle, so they are caving inside. Like you can see, the object is placed on the left side, the light is passing, and it is forming the image there itself only where the object is. It is not forming the image after the lens. It is forming the image before the lens only. So in all the cases of the concave lens, we'll get the image before it only. So if you're getting before it only, we call that type of an image as an virtual image, because you will be able to see that image on the lens itself and not on the screen. So concave lens is what is thin in between, and it is a diverging lens. Okay, so all the positions of the concave lens will always get a virtual and an erect image. The image that we see is going to be virtual and erect for a concave lens. So here you see the concave lens, the object is placed on the left side. See, the image is being formed again there near the focal point only, on the left side only. See, again near the focus point. The image is there itself only, and it is same like the object, means it is erect. So it is on the side of the object, so it is virtual, and it is same side of the object, so it is a erect image. So most of the cases, all of the cases in a concave lens, what we see is a virtual image only. We don't see a real image. See, at all the positions, wherever we put at any position of the object, if it is beyond infinity, if it is at C, if it is at F, if it is inside the F area, wherever we see it, we'll see a virtual image only. We'll never
Ma'am, are
see
you
a,
controlling that object green thing?
yes, object is the green thing. Object is anything that we are trying to see in the lens. For example, it could be yourself, it could be a tree, it could be stars when we are seeing through an astronomical instrument, or if when you're clicking pictures through a camera, it could be someone who you're getting photographed. All those things are the object, and when you see it is what you call it as an image. Okay, so here the concave and the convex lens is finished. Now we'll go to the uses of it.
No doubts, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes,
ma'am, I have a question.
yes,
Telescopes, ma'am, telescopes have convex mirrors, right? Convex
yeah,
lenses.
convex, yes. Telescope has convex.
Okay, ma'am.
And
Ma'am, I have a
ma'am, a
question.
specs, which has the powered one, it is the plano mirror, no? I mean, plano lens, no?
You touch the lens and tell me whether it is concaving outside or convexing, concaving inside or convexing outside. You touch it and tell me.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Feel. Yes,
The
Ma'am,
spectacles have which type of lens?
we are coming to that part. We are coming to the eye part. Just hold on yourself 2 minutes. If you finish the doubts with this, we'll come to the eye. Okay, so now we're coming to the uses of lenses. The uses of lenses. The first lens I told you is a magnifying glass. The magnifying glasses, if see on the left side, you can see the object. The object is very, very small. It is, like I told you, it has to be very near to the focal length. So it is very near to the lens. And what after the light that is passing from it coming to our eyes, we are seeing the object very, very big. So it is becoming a virtual image because it is on the same side of the object. We are able to see it on the lens, and it is very, very big, magnified virtual erect image. So whenever you're using a magnifying glasses, the magnifying glasses are convex glasses, and those glasses help you to see an object, magnified virtual erect object. A similar picture is kept on the right side. A ladybug, as I told you, the convex lens focal length is there. It is placed inside the focal length. After it is getting, after those light rays are coming, it is coming to our eyes. From that, we can see the object very, very big. It's getting magnified.
Ma'am, what if we try changing the place of the lens?
With reference to what?
Nearer to us, nearer to the eye.
You try to, do you have a magnifying glass at home?
I think I need to find it. Ma'am, I
Okay,
have. Ma'am, I have one.
okay, okay. So what you all do is take a magnifying glass, take any object, take a small bead or take a needle or something, place it somewhere, try to get a very sharp image, okay? And measure the distance between the object and the magnifying glass. That will be inside the focal length. Now you try to change the position of the lens. So if you'll change the position of the lens, the object will get blurred because it is not getting focused. It has to be focused on a point. That focusing has to be done. All those lenses has to be coming to a focal length. So you try to do it, and you try, whoever has got a lens for the activity for today would be that you are going to try to find a magnifying glass if you have at home, and take a small object, try to see it, and then when you get a perfect sharp image, after getting a perfect sharp image, hold yourself there, measure the distance between your lens and the object. That will be the focal length of that of that lens, of that lens. A different lens will have a different focal length. Okay.
Ma'am, is
Next.
this one okay?
Yeah, you can do it and send us pictures. Okay,
Okay,
so lenses are used where we are using it in telescopes, we're using it in goggles, we are using it in cameras, projectors, glasses, microscope, n number of uses of lenses, n number of uses. Next. Lenses are used in glasses so that we are helping to correct our vision. So we're going to go to the correcting vision part. Hold on to yourself, okay? Don't ask doubts there. Then lenses are used in telescopes. We are seeing very far images. Very far means thousand and miles of kilometers far away from us. We are able to focus it on a point. So that is what the lenses are helping us to do. And microscopes, small objects, microscopic. Why do we call them as microscope? Because they are helping us to see micro meter, the objects that are within the range of micro, to see us them into a big enlarged image.
Microorganisms.
Yeah, the micro length. We're talking about length as micro, 10 raised to minus 6. We had discussed this in the first class. Okay, next. Now we come to the most interesting part of our body, and that is the human eye. Okay, we all are very intrigued by the eye. Our eye is the best part, you know. If we don't have the eyes, we won't be able to see the beauty around us. We've got basically five senses: uh, the eyes, the nose, the taste, hearing, and the touch. Okay, out of that, eye makes us see all the things around us, near, far, a lot of things. So eye is very important part of our body. Now we'll go into the detailed structure of the eye. So we'll go next slide. Next. Okay, so on the left side, this is how the eye is there inside, and I've taken a cross section of it. So this is called as a cross section of the eye, the left side, right? So I've taken the eye and I've just cut it into half. Okay. So if you see the eye, you will see you see your eye as a white color, and inside that there is a colored round. Some people have black color, blue color, gray color. Okay. Now above that there is a layer which is called as the corona, which is called as a cornea. It is called as the cornea. So the cornea is the outermost white layer that surrounds the entire eye that is visible. So that cornea is very important. It is helping us to see also. It is helping our eye to protect our eyes from a lot of dirt, and cornea is very im- important and the outermost part of the eye. Now, as we go inside, after the cornea, we come to the iris. The iris is the one that is colored. So you've got black color, blue color, gray color. People wear lenses of different colors to show to match to their dresses. So that is the iris. It is called as the iris. Now, if sometimes you can this activity you can do, go into the mirror and see yourself in the mirror. Inside that colored part, you will see one small black color hole, and that black color hole is what is called as the pupil. Pupil, pupil. Okay. Now this pupil is very important part of the eye. It is helping to allow the light to pass into the eye. See, when the lights are closed, you cannot see, right? So the eye is handicapped without the light. So you need light to see, and it is this pupil point that is allowing the light to pass into the next mechanism that helps us to see, the mechanism of the eye. Okay, so the pupil is allowing the light to pass into the next path, and that is what we have got a lens. We have got a convex lens inside the eye. Okay, so we've got a convex lens that is there. Now the convex lens is surrounded by ciliary muscles on above and below. Above and below the lens, there are muscles that helps the lens to elongate and to shrink as per the requirement of the eye. Okay, and if you see on the other end of the eye, where the now whatever object you are seeing is being formed on the retina. So there is an entire big retina. The entire half of it is called as the retina. That is the screen for the eyes. So whatever object is coming, that image is flowing into the pupil. From the pupil, it is flowing into the lens. From the lens, it will form an image on the retina. On the retina, there are different types of cells, rod cells and cone cells. The rod cells help us to see black and white, whereas the cone cells help us to see colored objects. So we are able to see the variety around us because of those cells that are present on the retina. From there, those cells, now we go into bio. Now this part uh, of the body is, we consider it into a biophysics kind of a part, where it is converting that signal. Means we are getting what signal? We are getting the light signal. So we are seeing light. Now that light signal is being converted into into a pulse, into an electric pulse by those optic nerves. So those optic nerves will carry that information to the brain. So for example, on the right side, there is a light. From the light, candle light, it is entering cornea. From cornea, it is entering into the pupil. From the pupil, it is going into the lens. From the lens, it is now going to go and form an image on the retina here. On the retina, you get the image of the light. On that light image, those cells out there, the rod cells and the cone cells, will convert it into an electric impulse. And that electric impulse will go to the brain and will tell the brain that there is a light out there. So, for example, you have got your hands very close to the candle, or you have got your hands very near the fire. What will your brain say? Move your hands. Why? Because it has seen danger. That impulse has been carried to the brain, and the brain is now telling your hand to move. So this becomes like a reflex action, and that is helped by the optic nerves. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, but if the pupil is a hole in which light can enter, can't dust and also particles like that enter?
That is why we've got the cornea. I said that in the beginning only. The cornea is helping to not let the dust enter into our eyes. Anytime, even if dust goes into your eye, what happens? You will close your eyes, your eyelids will close. The first action, the first mechanism that your body does is closes your eyelids. Okay, even if dust particle has got into your eye, it will all be protected by the cornea, and it will all get deposited on the lower layer and will come out into tears. It will not let the dust go. How will the dust pass into all these layers? It is impossible.
Ma'am, ma'am, I have a question. For the magnifying glass activity, ma'am, what do we have to do for the magnifying glass
Okay, wait.
activity?
We'll send you that on the group. Okay. Do you have any doubts with the structure of the eye?
Ma'am,
Anyone?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you again tell the homework because I was disconnected?
Okay, homework, we'll send it on the group. Any point on the eye structure? Okay, we'll go to the next.
No, ma'am.
Now,
Ma'am, I have a doubt. Ma'am, the doubt is, ma'am, how do eyes help to, ma'am, to, how do eyes help the brain to tell the hands to take your hand away from the fire candle?
I just explained the entire thing. Were you listening to it or no?
Ma'am, I was listening, but I didn't understand how.
Okay. So for example, the eye is seeing danger. Okay, you see danger, you see fire. Okay. So what happens is that fire gets registered into your eye on the retina. Okay. That retina converts it into a signal, and that signal goes into the brain. Now the brain tells the part of your body that is near the fire that move away from it. This is called as a reflex action. For example, if I took a ball and I am going to hit you with a ball. What are you going to do? You either are going to catch it, or you will move yourself, so that the ball will not hit you. That type of a mechanism is called as a reflex action. So if, for that reflex action, all the senses that we have got are converting those signals into electric signals. Those go into the brain, and from the brain tells the appropriate organ to stay away from danger. That is how the reflex action works.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. There's someone who says, where are the tear glands? The tear glands are just below the ear. Just sorry, just below the eye. Just below the eye, there are tear glands. It is not here. It's not in the eye human eye mechanism. It is below the eyes. Okay. So can I go to the next part? Okay, so a lot of times, have you all noticed, you see a very beautiful image of the moon? Okay, you see the moon very nice, white, sometimes white. You can see some image on the moon, and you feel, oh wow, it's so pretty, it is so big, and you want to take a picture of it. The minute you try to take the picture of it, you will not get a very good image like you have seen it in your eyes. Why is it so? Because the eyes has got the power of accommodation. Like we discussed, the lens is being held by muscles. Those muscles are called as ciliary muscles. Those muscles help to make the lens small and big. So if you are making the lens big, you are increasing the focal length. So you can see far objects better. If you're making the lens small, you're seeing the near objects very well. So your lenses are able to change its shape into, I don't mean by changing convex to concave. No, they are changing their shape by means they're changing their length, and they're changing the focal length of it. So if you have an object that is very far, the lenses will become elongated in the first image. So in the first image, it becomes thin and big. In the second image, if you see the object is very near to you, say you are reading, you're writing, you're seeing the screen right now, at that time the lens of your eye will become very small. It will become thicker. So if it becomes thicker, the focal length becomes smaller. So this is the power of accommodation of the normal eye. So if you see, take your finger, take it very far. Okay, right now do it with me. Take your finger, take it very far. Okay, try to bring it closer, closer. What happens after a certain time? You'll not be able to see. You won't be able to see. You will see double image. You will see blurry image. That that distance. That distance is called as the power of accommodation distance, and it is at 25 centimeters. So 25 centimeters is what is the best distance for anyone to see. So whenever you are you have your mobiles in your hand, you have a laptop or whatever objects you are reading, you should always keep it is at the safe distance of at least 25 centimeters. That is the best power of accommodation. Below that, the power of accommodation will become very difficult. It will stress your eye. It will stress the muscles because the muscles are trying to make the lens more and more shorter, more and more thicker, and it will damage your eyes. Okay, so this is the power of accommodation of the human eye. This is one of the wonders that is gifted to us. Okay, next. So here you can see the power of accommodation. See on the left side, as the object is far also you can see, and if it is near also you can see. See how the lens is going to change. The lens is changing. See, it was elongated, now it's becoming more and more thicker. Again, see the GIF once more. Okay. Now see the lens on the left side is becoming thicker and thicker and thicker. Okay, so this is how the power of accommodation works. The same way on the right side, the muscles working is given. The muscles are making the lens more and more thicker. First, the lens is very, very elongated. Now, the lens is becoming more and more shorter, and that is being done by the muscles. Okay, so this is how the accommodation of the eye is helping us to see different objects. Okay, there's one thing which I want to mention is we spoke about the pupil, right? The pupil is helping to allow the light to come to help the light to come inside and go outside, right? So when there is dark, initially when the light just goes off, you can't see anything, right? Slowly you are able to make out if there is even slight light coming from outside, probably the moonlight, or probably some neighbor's light is there. You'll be able to see certain things around you, probably not clearly, not defined, but you can see it. That is possible because of the pupil. The pupil is going to change the size. The pupil will become big in that case. So when it is dark, the pupil becomes big because it is allowing more light to come inside. And when there is daytime, or when there's lot of sun, you don't want much light to get into your eyes. At that time, the pupil will become very, very small. So you can do this as an experiment. Okay. You know what do doctors do to test your eyes? They will take a torch and they'll put it into your eyes and they will check the pupil's power, whether the pupil is becoming big or small. So what do they do is, when there is no light, the pupil is at a certain size. If you put torch, the pupil becomes small. If you remove the torch, again the pupil becomes big. So this is what the doctors do to test your eyes. Okay, so this is one of the normal eye test that happens. You can do it. You can try it at home for your own self. Go into the mirror, take a torch, put your first try to locate your pupil, then try to put a torch, not a very heavy one, a very lighter one. Don't damage your eyes. Take a very small one. Try to take it near your eyes. you will see that the pupil has become very, very small. If you remove it, the pupil will again become very, very big.
Mom, can you repeat the work for this one?
Um, I will send you this on WhatsApp. Don't worry. If you've not understood, I'll send it to you. Okay? I'll send you with the proper pictures how to do it. Okay? First, let me finish today's part. After finishing, uh, I will, if there is time, I will try to explain you what you have to do for the day. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to the defects of the eye. Okay? So, one is if the eye loses the power of accommodation, means the person is not able to see things clearly because of the muscles not working well. That mainly happens because of old age. Okay, uh, there are two very common refractive defects. See, I'm coming to the word refractive because the refraction is not taking place well. The refraction is coming into faulty region. So that there is one point is myopia, or it is called as nearsightedness. You can see only near objects. And hypermetropia, or it is called as farsightedness, you can see only far objects. Okay, so first we'll go to myopia. We'll study what is myopia. So myopia is what we call as nearsightedness. You can see near objects, you can't see far objects. This is normally what happens as a child. So all of you who have got lenses, right, who have got glasses right now, you're all are myopic. You can't see the board well. You can't see the TV. You can't read a board which is very far. Okay, so you can't see far objects. You can see only near objects. So that is called as myopia. Now, why does it happen? It can happen because of two things. The eyeball is getting curved too much, and there is an elongation of the eyeball. So because of that, the lens that had to work and had to get the image on the retina, instead of the retina, it is not in the retina, it is in front of the retina. Means, we'll go to the next slide, you'll come to know. See, now the lens had to make the image form on the retina. The retina is where it is pointed. That is where the image had to be formed. But because of the elongation, because your lens has got more elongated, now the image is not being formed on the retina, it is forming inside the eye, before the retina. So if it is forming before the retina, it is not going on the retina. It is not going on to the rod cells. It is not going into the cone cells. They are not able to transmit it into signal and pass it to your brain. So you can't see far objects clearly because your lens has become big. Now what you do is you are correcting it. So to correct a myopic eye, you are using a concave lens. The concave lens allows us to get all the eye images and form it properly onto the retina. So the concave lens is helping us to get it onto the retina. So all the people who have got lenses right now, check your glasses. You will feel the glasses will be slightly inside. You will have slightly curved inside. You will be having a concave lens for
Ma'am,
the correction.
Ma'am, bioconvex.
Okay. So again in that there may be certain changes as per the different eye, but here you will be having a concave lens. Okay. Myopia, you can see only near objects, you can't see far objects. The image is formed before the retina, and to correct it, you are using a concave lens. Okay. Now we go to the next one, that is a hypermetropia. hypermetropia means farsightedness. This normally happens when you get slightly older. Okay, so if after growing little bit, so right now if you don't have glasses, and after you grow old and you get something which you call as reading glasses, you say that you want to for reading you need glasses, means you can see the far objects well, but you can't see the near objects. If you can't see the near objects, you can't read, you can't work on the laptop, you can't work on the mobile. So at that time, what happens is the light rays that are coming from the near source, they are getting focused behind the retina, means after the retina. So if they're going after the retina, again it is not falling on the retina. Now why does this happen? Because the eyeball becomes small, it is getting more thicker. In myopia, the eyeball was becoming elongated. Here the eyeball is becoming small and more thicker. So because of that, we are using a convex lens. The convex lens is helping us to change this hypermetropia into normal viewing. See, we'll see it into the next slide. See, all the object that is coming and it is falling after the retina. See, after the retina it is going. So what is the important point is, whatever objects light is coming has to come and fall on the retina. If it is falling before retina or after retina, no use to us. So we can't see the things. And the eyeball is also becoming more and more shorter. The eyeball is becoming shorter, and because of that, the image is forming after the retina. So to correct it, we are using a convex lens. So if you don't have a convex lens at home, you can use somebody's reading glasses. Okay, reading glasses will serve as a convex lens. Those convex lens is able to make the images fall right on the retina. So we get the images on the retina perfectly well. So hypermetropia, you can see far things, you can't see near things. So if you can't see near things, that is because the lens is becoming shorter. And because of that, the image is forming after the retina. So the image is forming after the retina. To correct it, we are using a convex lens. Okay, so we did different types of problems. One is the accommodation power, and one is, like I told you, this is a refractive defect. The proper refraction is not taking place. The refraction should have been taken place exactly at the retina. It is forming either before the retina or after the retina. So because of that, there is a defect. And today, because of advancement in technology, we are able to put the appropriate lens, put the appropriate glasses and correct it. For a myopic lens, we use, for a myopic eye, we use a concave lens. For a hypermetropic eye, we use a convex lens. Okay. Okay. So for today, the light chapter is now over. Okay. We discussed a lot of things of light. Firstly, we discussed what is light, how the light waves are made. They're made up of different types of electromagnetic radiations. I had done with you all this before also. There are visible range that we can see. There's the range that we can't see. That is the UV range, the IR range, the microwave range, the gamma rays that you all are very interested into, right? After that, we studied a lot of properties of light. The first property of light is reflection. So whenever light falls on some object, the light gets reflected. If light falls on a transparent object, it will get refracted. And we studied about the Vibgyor range, the visible range. The visible range, if it is all together, it will become white light. If it is differently, if it passes through a prism, it becomes into the different 7 colors as it is, that is the Vibgyor, that is called as dispersion and recombination. So if we go to one of the slides where Sana ma'am had told that there are a lot of properties of light. So we studied about reflection, we studied about refraction, we studied about dispersion and recombination. Okay, so for us the light topic is over. Now you can go to your books, both the books. You must be having the light chapter into it. Go through the light chapter, the theory part. Go through the MCQs of it. Okay, try to finish it. And if you have any doubts, you can WhatsApp us on the doubts, or whenever we meet next, we can discuss it at that time. Okay, and anybody has any doubts up till now?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so for the experiments for today, you all are going to do 2 or 3 experiments at home. Okay, one of that experiment is going to be, you all are going to take a magnifying glass, okay, and try to take any small object. Probably you can take a button or a needle or a bead or something like that, and try to get a magnified image. Okay, the minute you get the magnified image, hold your lens there, hold the lens there, and measure the distance between the lens and the object that you are seeing into the lens. Okay, that will be the focal length of that particular magnifying lens, means that convex lens. That is the first thing. Okay, the second one is you are going to go into the mirror, see yourself into the mirror. You will see the white color part, then you will see the black color iris. In the iris you will see one small black small hole, that will be the pupil. Okay, try to flash a very slight torch. We don't want to put too much light into the eyes, we don't want to disturb the eye. So take very small
flashlight.
mobile flashlight, but try to keep it a little bit far distance. Okay, so take it near to that, try to see your pupil. Now your pupil will become small or big?
Ma'am,
When the light comes, your pupil becomes small or big?
Ma'am, small.
small. Small.
Yes, small. You will see that the pupil has become small. Once you move the light away from your eyes again, you will see that the pupil has again become big.
Big.
So try to do these 2 experiments. Okay, and if you have got glasses of anybody in the house right now, if you all are wearing glasses or someone small is wearing glass, you try to see it will be a concave lens. Okay, and if someone has reading glasses, you can feel it will be a convex, it will be bulging outside. Okay, try to see that you don't damage it by your hands, just try to feel it slightly, don't damage the glasses. Okay.
All right. Now that we know we don't have any further doubts, there's a small surprise for all the students. We have a guest with us today, and he has been associated with a company called Carl Zeiss for last 15 years and more. And for those who don't know what this company is, this company is into manufacturing of equipments which are used to test eye defects or probably used for correction of those defects. So he's an expert in this field, and we are so fortunate to have him. He is here to give you all an insight about what is the latest technology trend in the eye industry. When you go to an eye specialist, what does the doctor do? What is it that he tests? How he does? And how this technology is changing on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so we from KitUK team and our students, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Indra Vijay, and I would hand it over to Mr. Indra Vijay to give the insights to all our students. Welcome.
Hi, good morning all. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So, good morning, all of you. You should be safe and happy at your home during this COVID-19 situation, right? I'm from one multinational company which is called as Carl Zeiss. This company is 174 years old company. Basically, this is a German organization, and I'm working as a Western region manager for this company. I'll not give you much of brief about the company, but there is an interesting topic which is related to human eye. So human eye and physics, there is a strong relation between these two things. And madam has rightly explained about the anatomy of eye, what are the problems in the eye. So how do we correct? So Swapna, can I connect my one of slide? Can I present that slide? Is it possible as of now?
Yeah, you're going to share it with me, or you want to present it from your computer? You can do that.
From my computer, how do I go ahead with that? Because there is a time.
There is a small option down which says present now.
Okay, correct.
When you click on that, on the right bottom of your screen, so if you click on that, you will have to choose an option to present your entire screen.
Correct.
And click OK, and then whatever you open on your screen will be visible to all our students.
Correct. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'll try my best to show you one picture, and I think that's gonna give you a bit insight about the anatomy of our eye, where we can correlate this particular structure, and you can see. I'll just go through it. Yeah, correct. So, is it visible?
No, it's not. No.
I think it will take us some time and it will come. The main screen is visible?
No, no. We can see only your video.
Okay. So basically, I'll not take time, but I'll just, there is an interpretation, there is a correlation between a camera as well as human eye. So how you correlate with human eye and the camera, as we discussed, there is a cornea. Cornea, how behaves the cornea? There is a high power adjustment from the complete eye that will be taken care by the cornea. Then there is a pupil, which is responsible for the human eye color, as well as it can create an aperture for the light, wherever it requires that a less light or a more light. I'm trying to simplify it in a manner that there is a lens which adjusts for a myopia as well as hyperopia. There are some other disorders in the eye, which is called as astigmatism as well as presbyopia, but we need not to go into the detail. Basically, we would like everybody, all human, would like to get a crisp, clear image. So the eye structure in a proper way that
Indra Vijay sir, I have, I think, shared a screen. Like, if you can say this is the screen that you wanted to present.
Let me check.
If you can pin on to my video.
Yeah, just a moment. Not that one. Really, I think there is one comparison. I think we'll not go by the detail. There is a comparison between human eye and camera.
Okay.
So there is an exact correlation, so student can understand what is the similarity and how it works. So as ma'am rightly explained, the pupil has a vital role of it can create an aperture for a low light and high light. There is a lens who is responsible for focusing mechanism. If the focusing is proper, then the image will form on the retina. Precisely, we called as a fovea, which is a significant 90% of the vision which will fall onto the fovea. And this is how the complete anatomy of eye work. It converted into the electronic signal, and there is a optical nerve which is through the optical chassis. It will go and transfer to the brain, and how image forms. Brain is a superpower, right? So I will not go into the detail, but coming back to the disorder of the eyes, there are a few students who are having a myopic. So there is a problem of distance vision. So what we need to see is, without spectacle, we cannot see the distance objects clearly. In that case, to nullify that, we are putting a glasses in front of our eyes, which will correct the focal length of that particular parallel rays, and the crystal clear vision will form onto the retina. Right? That is the one thing. So I will just brief you about the technology which is available in the entire world today. The first thing is, if you have some disorders into the eye, which is called as a myopia, hyperopia, as well as presbyopia, the first and basic how you need to correct is a basic source of correction is a glasses. You can put glasses and you can get it corrected. You can correct myopia with the glasses, you can correct hyperopia with the glasses, you can correct astigmatism with the glasses, and presbyopia also you can do with the glasses. That is the one thing. If you go a bit onto the advance, the cornea, what we have discussed about the anatomy of eye, has a highest refractive index into the eye. So cornea, there is a one particular part of the cornea which is called as a stromal bed, where we can apply the laser, and equivalent amount of your spectacle power will get, there is a particular algorithm, and we can apply a laser onto that, which is going to be ablate a cornea, and you can get corrected with a myopia, astigmatism, and hyperopia and presbyopia. So the first step is spectacles. The second is excimer laser. You can go into the Google and please understand, it's a deep subject, but it is same amount of spectacle glasses you can get corrected on the cornea, because cornea is having a highest power. It's a 42 diopter of power is only getting corrected within cornea. So you can apply a excimer laser. The next technology which is available from Carl Zeiss, as of now only we are the only company who is providing this solution, is called as SMILE technology. So we take out a small lenticule inside from your cornea without disturbing the complete structure of the cornea. The equivalent amount of your spectacle dioptric value, we can take out a small lenticule. I'm sorry that it's a bit difficult to explain without any presentation, but just go and Google it, so you can find out a bit detail about the SMILE technology. And the last option is if you have a spectacles with people is having a high power which cannot be corrected with lenses, or they are not comfortable wearing glasses, not comfortable with a contact lens, they are not suitable for excimer laser, they are not suitable for a SMILE. There is one more technology which is called as clear lens extraction. So in clear lens extraction, what doctors going to do is they will take out your natural lens and they will put a high power or a suitable power intraocular lens. This is called as a ICL. That is the technology where you can get all your disorders corrected, and they try to get as natural as possible. So they try to restore their vision. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Indra Vijay, sir.
Any question related to eye?
Sir, what's the lenticule? What's a lenticule?
Lenticule is a part of your cornea. If you go into the detailed structure of the cornea is around, for a normal human, the thickness of the cornea is around 400 to 600 micron. So there is a particular segment of cornea you can take out. Like I will give you an example. If you have a 2 diopter value of your eye, that is called as if your distance vision is -2 diopter. So the equivalent into the micron is going to be 25 micron in the eye. So 25 micron lenticule you can extract from the cornea, that is as equivalent as for -2 diopter of distance vision. Hope I have answered correctly.
Indra Vijay, Nirav here. I have one question. So what is cylindrical number?
So cylindrical, basically, if you look at the parabolic structure, so our eye should be in a parabolic form, right? If in layman's language you would like to understand the cylindrical number, this is called as that ત્રાસી આંખના number. So astigmatism, basically there is no one focal point, and that focal point, if there is a one focal point, there are a patient who don't have a distance vision problem or a near vision problem, but they have astigmatism. So in that case, what it will happen, that one foci will be there on that particular point, but that will be elongated. So in other way around, if I see a object, 5 feet object, might be the astigmatism patient will say it is 5.25 or it is tilted. So this kind of disorder will called as astigmatism.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the maximum power of that the fourth option you told, in which they were not comfortable with contact lenses or specs, or the other two technology you had told about? So what is the maximum power of it? The artificial lenses?
Yeah, basically this question goes to this thing. This is the subject of doctor, but yes, being a technical person, I would like to address it. With the spectacles, you can correct around 16 to 17 diopter, which is going to be minus as well as combination of plus or minus 7 and 8. For excimer laser, the FDA range goes up to minus 14 and plus or minus 5. For refractive laser, if you go for the SMILE, minus 12.5 diopter, plus or minus 5 diopter cylinder and sphere. And for ICL, it goes up to minus 20, plus or minus 5 cylinder diopter. So again, it's not only a requirement of your diopter or your anatomy of eye. Doctor need to decide what kind of treatment is going to suit you, and which kind of correction is going to be better for your longer period of life.
Thank you, sir.
So we have a question from one of our students, Janvi. She's asking, what is a blind spot?
Yeah, very good. Very nice question. Yeah. So if you go into the detail of anatomy of eye, this is a very nice question, and there are a very few people who understand this correctly. If you look at the anatomy of eye, there is an optic disc. As we discussed, there is a macula, and the central part of the macula is called as a fovea, where 90% of the vision get formed. The same way, there is an optic disc. So that optic nerve start, and that carries to the optic chassis, and it goes to the brain. The center part of that optic disc is called as a blind spot, because there is no vision.
I would request students to see my screen while sir is explaining the anatomy.
Yeah, so if you look at the in a layman's language, if I need to explain that blind spot is a starting point of the optic nerve head. If you look at the optic nerve, is it visible for you? The starting point of the optic nerve in—
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know whether my—
Yes, sir.
So this is called as a blind spot. So there is no vision on that particular point. And if you look at the macula, that is a focal area. Look at the macula. They have above the optic nerve head. If you go a bit above, that is called as a macula. So macula is a focal point, and the center part of the macula is called as a fovea, where the 90% of your vision gets formed. So which is coming in my mind. So when we explain anatomy of eye, we need to explain that this is a cross-sectional view of the eye. I might be missing that point while I was moving around, but this is a cross-section of this eye. This is a complete ball structure, and it is formed with an ciliary muscles, that outer part, which will maintain a shape of the ball. And this is human body as well as physics, the beautiful combination God has made. So that macula, that so many times it is coming in my mind, rather to changing outside power or a corneal power to adjust my vision and restore my vision, why can't I change a place of the macula? Why can't I push my retina backside? So you all people are a young scientist. I think you can also think about that. So how you push macula back, or you change a structure of the eye inside and get that refractive power correction. Yeah. So I think you can think about it. Thank you. Is there any more questions?
Students, any more questions?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, so let's all together thank Indra Vijay sir for all the knowledge that he has shared with us today.
Thank you, Indra Vijay sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Farida, you can take over, please.
I think we're done for the day. So we'll meet next Saturday with new topics.
Okay, bye.
We'll meet next Saturday, and we will be sharing all the activities on WhatsApp, so you all can complete the
Okay,
activities.
ma'am.
Bye.
Okay, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.